Do you want to draw better anime faces, but no matter what you do they just look bad and boring? That was me for a really long time. And what helped me was noticing the same mistakes I was doing over and over and finally fixing them. So let me show you some common anime drawing mistakes that ruin your art and, more importantly, how to fix them instantly. So first mistake that will instantly improve your anime faces is making the head too small so there is not really much space for brain. So I actually noticed that in my older drawings that there's not much space for the brain. Here and here. And the fix is super simple. So in drawing anime heads, what I did is just changed one proportion. So I just moved eyes a little bit further down. For example, here we see that eyes are above the middle. With normal proportions, there would be in the middle. These are above, but I put them a little bit lower. Something like this, way lower. So this will instantly add a lot of volume to the head. So this will instantly give the head much more volume. It will make it just feel more anime. But what you can also do is just add more hair volume. For example, here we could just raise a lot of hair somewhere around here. Obviously then the head would be too big, but just adding that, also making the forehead a little bit bigger, would fix it. But also when drawing faces in like a 3/4 view, what I actually like to do is just, instead of a ball, use an egg shape, something like this. Boom. It just adds a little bit more volume to the back of the head here and here. But also, if you want my brushes, they are for free in the description below, and with them you'll get 30 art tips that will help you improve your art in 30 days. Now quickly going to the next mistake, which is over rendering your faces. And obviously the fix is super simple. For example, here I tried to actually do something in more anime style, but it doesn't really look like it. So here you can see a really small change of just erasing a lot of details will actually make it look much more anime. Here we see that the nose is not like here, the nostrils like that, boom, boom. It's just super simple. 2 lines like this, boom, boom, and a nose hole. Same here we want to do so. 2 lines, boom, and a nose hole. So you can see. Also, depending on the expression, we can change the lips, even just be 1 line or 2. Also, the corners of the eyes can actually go. For example, here we can see that we have not really any corners here and here. It just blends with the skin. And we could even just simplify the eyelashes, like here, to just one big shape and then a couple of smaller ones instead of million of little ones. But also it can be the same with rendering. So even though these hair look pretty detailed for anime art style, when you zoom in, it's not really that much. So the texture here that we do makes it look like there's a lot of details in hair. But to be honest, here we have a couple of strokes. So how we can do that is pretty simple. Pretty much we can just take like a lighter color for highlights, something like this, place it, boom, here, then pick an eraser and just erase back. Add this, then take a round brush, boom, place some strokes here, then take eraser, erase it a little bit, then you can just go and add more details like this. And we have the same texture that we have here. And it just gives the feeling of hair, to be honest, here. You can even just erase something like this and here. And this small texture looks like hair. So just paint and erase. Now here let's go to the next mistake, which is making your faces flat and boring. So what I mean by that is color variety. You don't use it. So to fix that, we want to add a couple of subtle color variations. So for example, here what we can do on this roomy face, we can just divide it into thirds. So for example, we have the upper third, boom, 1, then second from eyebrows to nose, boom, second, and then from nose to bottom of the chin. And we have 3 zones. And now what I do here is pretty much just take an airbrush, clip the layer to the flat colors. The upper one I painted more yellowish, boom, then middle one I just painted more pinkish, so pick a color of the skin, change the saturation a little bit, move to more orange or pink, whatever, and then just add a little bit, boom, like that. This is too strong, but whatever. And bottom you can make it cooler, so pick a color, change the saturation lower a little bit, move to cooler hues, and just paint it. But for female characters I just like to leave it as it is, because the middle one makes it look like it's cooler. For example, here you see the 3 zones, the cooler one, warmer and yellower. Same here, a very subtle change. You can see that this is more warmish, but also as you can see here we have a pretty nice combo for anime art style. So it's cool and warm color combo. For example, here we can see that we have the shadow color a little bit cooler. You see it's more on the coolish side. The skin is warmer, so more in these hues, but also the subsurface scattering is also warm. It creates this nice combo. But also you don't have to use this only for skin. You can have it in hair, in clothes, and just have warmer skin, cooler hair. Just depends on what you want. Now next mistake is making your faces look like a potato, literally. So I struggled with it for a really long time, to the point that I didn't even want to draw faces in this angle, but I did. And as you can see here, this angle is all really bad. So if you struggle with this, it's super simple to actually fix. And we just want to do a couple of things. So here, what I usually do is, here we have our eye line. So this one, I just connect the side of the head with a chin, as you can see here. But I did that in my guidelines. So from this point here, it goes a little bit out. And then at around eye level, it just goes in like this and then goes out a bit. Now here we have our nose, and basically I just go out, and around this point here, I just go in. So something like this. Boom. And we can just connect this to the chin, or we can just go a little bit in at around mouth level. So something here, it just goes a little bit in. Boom. Then like this, and then there would be an eye here, like this, and eyebrows. You can see that it's much better than whatever this is. So same here, we see that the eye goes in, then at around eye level goes out, then under around here we go in, and mouth we go out. Boom. And obviously in different angles it will be a little bit different. So for example here we still go in and out, and then the cheek goes at around mouth level in, something like this. Boom. Other thing that you can actually do to draw these faces in these angles, 3/4 view, is a simple mask. So pretty much we just start from the eyebrows, we make a line, then we go around the socket of the eye, at around the middle of the eye. So this goes in, then out, and then also out. And now we can try to have these angles here, these lines here have the same angle, something like this. And then we just go into the mouth like this and into the mouth like this. Boom. And then around here we have our lips. Same here, we have our temple here again, so we can actually follow this here, then boom, boom. So same angle, then out, out, same angle still, go in and down. So go like that and down, boom. And we have a simple mask. So then we have a mistake that makes your line art or your sketches look boring and super messy. So here you can see that everything is super thick. There's not really much variety in lines other than the guidelines. And the fix is super simple. We want to just have a brush with some size pressure control, like you see here. If we press harder, we get thicker lines, and this will add a lot of variety into other lines. So one thing that you can do then with it is having thicker lines outside on the outer part of your character, like here you see these are thicker, and then inside ones are lighter and just more faded, like you see here. Boom, really thin, really faded, and this one is pretty thick, so this will add a lot of appeal. But also you can add a little bit of shadows like here in your sketches or line art, and some ambient occlusion. So ambient occlusion is basically just thicker lines in places where there would be ambient occlusion. So between things, like for example here you see we have a really thick line, boom, same here, and even a little bit here and here. Obviously this is more of shadow, but even here you can see that we have this part here of the mouth, the corner, and then we have more darker part here because there would be no light or that much. Same here, more thicker lines, thinner ones, thicker again. Pretty much you can just do T-lines and then just make them thicker at the place where they touch. So something like here we have a T-line, boom, and we can make this thicker, this here thicker, boom, and even like that, boom. Just adding this will improve your line art or sketches. I like to use sketches. But what if you already just placed your line art or sketches and they are too thick? So for example, here we can take Liquify tool, change the setting to shrink, and then just go around your sketch and just, you see here, you can shrink it and make it thinner. Pretty cool trick here. Boom. Now, next mistake is making your light and your colors boring in your anime drawings. And when I actually started drawing, I learned this technique of adding a cool light, which to be honest ruined my art in the beginning because I overdid it. So it is basically subsurface scattering. Now to fix this mistake, we want to add this color variety, but not that much. So for example, here we can see we have the color variety on the transitions between light and shadow, like here, a little bit here, here, obviously here, boom, even here, even on hair, like here. Same here, you can see the bluer color, even here, some purple pinks, very nice. And obviously here you see this subsurface scattering. But now to add it, it's super simple. So we just make a new layer on top of our shadows and flat colors, set it to overlay, clip it, then just select your shadow layer and then gently paint on the transitions here. Boom. Then we also want to take an airbrush and just gently paint it. We'll change the hue a little bit, like this. Boom. And with that, you'll get this cool transition like here and here. And you can also always just change the hue of the colors. So for example, here we have more yellower light and a little bit darker. Here the shadows are a little bit more cooler. And you see it looks pretty nice. Obviously the same we can do for hair, but for hair I like to use layers like Add Glow, Glow Dodge, Color Dodge, or Hard Light. So we can actually try Hard Light, pick like a color, make it a little bit more saturated, and just go here. And you see that we can add these nice transition here. You see we can add these. So this is what I did here. From the steady, a pinkish color, and you see it's pretty much the same, obviously too strong a little bit. So yeah, not only we can add these to skin, but also to clothes, like here we see this choker here, or even hair and even eyes. There's a little bit saturated transition here, you see. So next mistake will make your faces look just bad and wonky and unappealing, and fixing that will help you draw anime faces in perspective. So first thing that we observe when the angle will change is the thirds of the face. For example, here we can divide the head again into thirds. Here we have 1, 2, and there would be forehead. And here we see the face from below. The chin will get bigger and the forehead will get smaller and bigger. Boom. So for example, even here we see that the chin area, the jaw area, is much bigger than the forehead. So you can even observe it here. Boom, boom, boom. And there would be forehead. So big, medium, small. Now, if we see it from below, we see that the forehead will get bigger and the chin area will get smaller, and this is medium still. So here's one thing that will help you draw anime faces in perspective. But other thing is ears. So you can see that if we see the head from below, the eyeline is above the ears, or ears are below the eyeline. Same here. We would have something like this. Ears here, eyes here, below. And even in this angle here, we see that the ears are below the eyes. And obviously if the eyes is looking down and we see it from below, from above, the ears will be above the eyeline. So remember about that. And now if you want to learn how to draw anime faces and actually how to render them, you can check out my Patreon for monthly tutorials. Now to recap everything, the first mistake was about smaller heads, and we can just lower the eyeline to fix this. And next mistake was about over rendering everything, and to fix that we just want to simplify it. So less details and more simple shapes like this. Boom. Nose could be just bing bong, and we have a simple anime nose like here. Boom, boom, boom. Then we went to colors and making them more appealing and adding variety in them. So dividing the face into thirds and making the upper one more yellower, middle more reddish, and bottom cooler and bluish color. But also the cool and warm color combo, as you can see here. So cooler shadows and warmer skin tones and subsurface scattering. But also you can do that for hair and other things. Then we obviously had bad 3/4 view faces. So for example, here we saw, and just keeping in mind these angles here, as I said before, will help you draw much better 3/4 faces, but also adding a mask can also help. And then for line art, we just want to have variety in the size, so line weight, but also we can add a little bit of ambient occlusion to our line art or sketches, and we can use Liquify tool to make the lines thinner. And then we want to add some cool color transitions between light and shadow. Even here we just could have added a little bit of color transitions to the shadows and light, as we did a little bit here and even here, but also subsurface scattering. So just adding a glow to the transitions between light and shadow on your skin. So as you can see here, boom. Then to fix our bad anime faces in perspective, we want to use the thirds and change their proportions depending on the view and angle, and also use ears to show the perspective. So from below, the ears will be below the eyeline, and from above, they will be above the eyeline. And now if you want to learn how to draw basic anime faces, you can check out this video here that will help you with it.